Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, also subscribe to my channel. The impact of inflation on your finances and how to protect yourself. So make sure to watch the full video. Introduction. Inflation is a term that we often hear in discussions about the economy. But it is not always clear what it means and how it can affect our finances. Put simply, inflation refers to the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, which means that the purchasing power of our money is decreasing over time. This can have a significant impact on our finances, from our ability to buy basic necessities like food and housing to our long-term savings and retirement plans. In this article, we will explore the impact of inflation on your finances and provide some tips on how to protect yourself from its effects. We will first explain how inflation works and what causes it, before delving into its impact on different aspects of your financial life. We will then discuss some strategies for protecting yourself from inflation, including investing in inflation-protected assets and managing your debt effectively. Understanding inflation. Inflation is typically measured by the rate of change in the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which tracks the prices of a basket of goods and services that are representative of the average consumer's spending patterns. When the CPI rises, it indicates that the general level of prices is increasing, which means that it will take more money to buy the same amount of goods and services. The impact of inflation on your finances. Inflation has a significant impact on your finances, both in the short term and the long term. Here are a few ways in which inflation can affect your financial situation. Decreased purchasing power. The most immediate effect of inflation is the decreased purchasing power of your money. As the cost of goods and services rises, the same amount of money will be able to buy you fewer goods and services. For example, if the inflation rate is 3%, a $100 bill will only be able to buy goods and services worth $97 in 1 year. This decrease in purchasing power can affect all aspects of your life. You may find that you can no longer afford to buy the same amount of groceries as you used to, or that you need to cut back on entertainment expenses like dining out or going to the movies. Inflation can also make it harder to save money, as you will need to spend more money on basic necessities. Reduced savings. Inflation can also reduce the value of your savings. If you save money in a low-interest savings account, and the interest rate is lower than the inflation rate, your savings will actually be losing value over time. This is because the interest you earn in your savings will not be enough to keep up with the rising cost of goods and services. For example, if you save $10,000 in a savings account that earns 1% interest and the inflation rate is 3%, the purchasing power of your savings will decrease by 2% each year. This means that after 1 year, your $10,000 will only be worth $9,700 in terms of purchasing power. Increased debt burden. If you have debt, inflation can increase the burden of that debt. This is because the value of the money you owe will be decreasing over time, while the value of the money you earn will also be decreasing. This can make it harder to pay off your debt, as you will need to earn more money to keep up with the rising cost of living. For example, if you owe $10,000 on a loan with a fixed interest rate of 5%, and the inflation rate is 3%, the real interest rate on your loan will be only 2%. This means that the value of the money you owe will be decreasing by 3% each year, while the value of the money you earn will also be decreasing by 3%. This can make it harder to pay off your debt, as the burden of your debt will be increasing over time. Higher interest rates. Inflation can also lead to higher interest rates. When inflation is high, central banks may raise interest rates to try to control inflation by reducing the amount of money people can borrow. Higher interest rates can make it more expensive to borrow money, which can make it harder for people to buy homes, cars, and other big-ticket items. Higher interest rates can also affect your existing loans and credit cards. If you have a variable interest rate on your loans or credit cards, your interest rate may increase as inflation increases, making it more expensive to pay off your debt. How to protect yourself from inflation. While inflation can be difficult to control, there are steps you can take to protect yourself from its effects. Here are a few strategies to consider. Invest in assets that appreciate in value. One way to protect yourself from inflation is to invest in assets that appreciate in value over time. This includes assets like stocks, real estate, and commodities like gold and silver. These assets can provide a hedge against inflation, as their value tends to rise over time, keeping pace with or even outpacing inflation. It is important to note that these investments come with risks and should be considered as part of a well-diversified portfolio. It is also important to do your research and consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Diversify your investments. Diversifying your investments is another way to protect yourself from inflation. By spreading your investments across different asset classes, industries, and regions, you can reduce the risk of losses in any one area. For example, if you invest all your money in one stock and that stock experiences a significant drop in value, you could lose a substantial amount of money. However, if you diversify your investments across different stocks, bonds, and other assets, you reduce the risk of significant losses in any one area. Invest in inflation-protected securities. Inflation-protected securities are another way to protect yourself from inflation. These securities, also known as inflation-indexed bonds, are designed to adjust their principal and interest payments to keep pace with inflation. For example, the U.S. Treasury offers inflation-protected securities called TIPS, Treasury Inflation-Protected Securities. These securities provide a fixed interest rate, but the principal is adjusted for inflation. This means that as inflation rises, the principal value of the security will increase, providing a hedge against inflation. Avoid debt. Avoiding debt is another way to protect yourself from the effects of inflation. When you have debt, you are effectively borrowing money from your future earnings. This means that when inflation rises, you will need to earn more money in the future to pay off your debt. For example, if you take out a loan to buy a car and inflation rises, you will need to earn more money in the future to make your car payments. This can make it harder to keep up with your debt and can lead to financial stress. Increase your income. Increasing your income is another way to protect yourself from inflation. When inflation rises, the cost of living increases, and you may need to earn more money to maintain your standard of living. There are many ways to increase your income, including taking on a part-time job, starting a side hustle, or investing in education or training to increase your earning potential. By increasing your income, you can keep pace with inflation and maintain your financial stability. Conclusion: inflation is a reality that affects everyone, and it can have a significant impact on your finances. Decreased purchasing power, reduced savings, increased debt burden, and higher interest rates are just a few ways in which inflation can affect your financial situation. However, by investing in assets that appreciate in value, diversifying your investments, investing in inflation-protected securities, avoiding debt, and increasing your income, you can protect yourself from the effects of inflation and maintain your financial stability. It is important to stay informed about inflation rates and take action to protect your finances accordingly. By doing so, you can ensure that your money works as hard as possible for you and your future. Remember, protecting yourself from inflation is an ongoing process, and it requires diligence, patience, and a willingness to adapt to changing economic conditions. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go.